So in today's video, we are going to be discussing the Kansas City Chiefs signing JuJu Smith-Schuster. Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's just jump right into the video. So after a very quiet offseason, it looks like the Chiefs have finally landed that wide receiver 2 that they desperately needed heading into this offseason, and boy, they got a good one. Now, JuJu Smith-Schuster, he was injured the last season, so his production wasn't very good. He only played in 5 games last year, had 15 receptions, 129 yards. But I think JuJu Smith-Schuster adds a whole bunch to this offense, and we will discuss all of that in this video. Now, JuJu did sign a 1-year, $10.75 million contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, that part does concern me a little bit. Now, I'm not going to look too far into the future. I'm going to be happy in the moment with the fact that we got the wide receiver 2 that we really needed. The fact that it's only a 1-year deal does kind of stink, because I think if we look at JuJu's stats and we look at JuJu's highlights and everything that he can do, I think JuJu is definitely somebody that we want in Kansas City long term, because he's going to add a whole bunch of value to this offense. Because if you look at this offense last year, there was that huge stretch where it really struggled, and it really did struggle to move the ball. It looked stagnant, and it kind of looked like a pedestrian offense at times during last season. And I think adding this much desperate depth at wide receiver, not only do I think it helps the offense just in general as a whole with another weapon that Mahomes can throw to, I think it also is going to open up everybody else's chance to be more productive, and it's just going to make this offense even more dangerous than it already does. Because you have to remember, the Chiefs didn't acquire anybody during this last season. They got Josh Gordon, but he didn't really produce, and they made a great late playoff run, and they seemed to be able to figure out all the issues that they had in the playoffs, and they looked like the offense of old with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle. They were able to get things done with that core there when they still desperately needed a wide receiver too. So this just adds more promise to what the Chiefs kind of figured out late in the season, because teams were playing that cover 2, taking Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill out of every single play, leaving Mahomes with no one to throw to. And you look at JuJu's numbers, his best career year, 111 receptions, 1,426 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's some great level numbers, and that's for a wide receiver 2. Like, if we can, that's great production. Now, that's his best year. His last full year healthy in Pittsburgh, he had 97 receptions, 831 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Now, don't get discouraged by the huge amount of receptions and the so little yards. Don't get discouraged by that, because he played with Big Ben, and Big Ben honestly should have retired way before he did. You have to remember, he was playing with a quarterback that through like 3 different kinds of plays: a fade, a short over the middle route, a screen pass. Like, JuJu was a part of an offense that wasn't particularly good in Pittsburgh. So if you look at the highlights, JuJu, looking in what he can do, he's gonna add a whole bunch to this Chiefs team. And as I said, he adds exactly what this Chiefs need, a wide receiver 2. Because as I've said a lot that I don't understand the hate that McCole Hardman gets, but he's never going to be a wide receiver 2 in the NFL. He's going to be a great addition to whatever offense he's a part of, and he's going to have an important role in whatever offense he is a part of. But McCole's never going to be a wide receiver 2. But McCole definitely played his best stretch of football down the season, so I think he's one guy that is definitely going to capitalize off of this addition to JuJu Smith-Schuster. JuJu adds a whole bunch to this offense. He adds a guy who you can throw the ball over the middle to. You have a guy that can now win 50-50 balls. I was watching some highlights just to get a little bit of a taste of what we can get, and just a lot of those catches he were making were some spectacular catches, 50-50 balls that are very tough catches. So that's going to add another aspect to this offense that's spectacular. And he's also a deep threat. You have to keep in mind, JuJu was injured all of last season, but I think people forget JuJu's only 25. And at that young age, obviously the Chiefs have interest because they went after him last season. So you have all those attributes that JuJu Smith-Schuster brings as a player, and you bring in the fact that he's young and the fact that Chiefs were looking at him in the past. And I think this is a recipe to succeed, because you know the Chiefs have had interest in him in a very long time. But again, he fills that void that the Chiefs desperately needed as a wide receiver 2, something that the Chiefs have needed since Sammy Watkins left, to be honest. And again, he's going to help out this offense a whole bunch. Now Mahomes isn't just going to have to rely on Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill every single play, every single down, and every single situation. Yes, in that playoff game against Buffalo, it was basically Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce that made all the clutch plays, all the clutch moments in that entire game. We understand that. You look at the Chargers game that went to overtime. It was literally just Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill just playing bonkers out of their freaking mind. But you also have to remember they had that stretch this season where the entire offense was struggling quite a bit. And I think JuJu offers a whole bunch to this offense where everybody is now going to succeed. It's not going to just be Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, because defenses are still going to try to take those two out of plays, which is understandable. They're arguably two of the best players in all of football. Travis Kelce may be a tight end, but he's possibly more of a dangerous receiving threat than he is a blocking threat. Like, he can block, but he's more of a dangerous receiving threat. You have Tyreek Hill and his speed that people are obviously scared of because they played that cover 2 all of last season. So it's not just going to be those two that they rely on anymore, because obviously, like I said, teams are still going to try to take them out of every single play. But then you add somebody like JuJu, who, again, his numbers aren't the prettiest. There was a stat that was going around that with Antonio Brown, he had more 100-yard receiving games when Antonio Brown was in the lineup than Antonio Brown out of the lineup, which it completely makes sense, because you add JuJu to a elite level core of talent, it's going to unlock everything, because you can't, as a defense, you're not going to be able to guard Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, JuJu, and a guy that I think is going to thrive a whole bunch out of this is Mecole Hardman. I think those 4 guys right there are going to make a very dangerous offense, and it's going to be one that's going to be really, really hard to defend, play in and play out, week in and week out, because you're going to have to deal with Travis Kelce's just ability to get open on every single play. Tyreek Hill and his deep threat, it seems like it's going to come back and be a major factor. You have JuJu over the middle. You have Mecole Hardman with his speed, and he can be used as a gadget play, and he can be used as a decoy now. Like, there's a whole bunch through this offense that I'm sure Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, Matt Nagy, they're all sitting in a room right now just drawing up a whole bunch of plays, excited what they can do with this offense. And then you also have the fact that Josh Gordon and Jody Fortson, they might also be 2 guys that can thrive off of this addition of JuJu, because it's weird that a wide receiver 2 can open up a whole bunch for an entire team. But if you think about it, it makes sense, because if all you have is a wide receiver 1 like a Tyreek Hill, well, they just take them out of every single play, and they know Mecole Hardman isn't going to be a threat, Josh Gordon's not going to be a threat, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle from last year, those guys really aren't going to be much of a threat. But you add somebody like JuJu, who, even if he is a wide receiver 2, produces 800 yards receiving in a season. I think that's going to add a whole bunch of value. Then you have Mecole, who had almost a 700-yard season last year. So you have both Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce's 1,000-yard seasons. You add JuJu's 800-yard season, and then you're going to add another 700 yards because Mecole Hardman's production has gone up every single year that he's been in the NFL. You have a recipe for an offense that is on track to be one of the more dangerous offenses again. And it looks like this offense that the Chiefs have now, they could possibly be just as dangerous as any time that we have seen them in the past 4 years.